Mate! It's Albion Online. Another MMO, bruv. Don't know. Don't know. No, the last one we looked at was just Revelations Online. Went down really, really well. So the guys were like, hey, we represent a lot of MMOs. Why don't you check out a different type of one, see how that plays with yours as well. And you guys liked us looking at MMOs. So we got a legendary link.
We did get a legendary beta access, pal.
So we're going to beta of Albion Online.
Yeah, we got the information, we got the access. So I did a bit of research, mate. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, not looking
quite
at
simple. Yeah,
not looking
quite
at
simple, but looks actually pretty good. Bit different, it looks like.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have a look at another one that's a bit different. So hopefully it'll be better for you because we know the shitter MMOs, don't we? Yes, we do. So this one looks a little bit different. So we're going to delve into this one and see what Andy thinks and what I think. We're both going to play this one.
Oh, I've got a bit longer on this one as well, pal.
Yeah, mate. Let's go and have a look in it. Let's go and do it, mate. Oh. Is it a Chinese one?
No.
Okay.
Select character.
Matey, take the lead, bruv. Where are we going?
I don't know, mate.
No, it's weird, isn't it? It's such a weird one. I like it. It's not. I want to be WoW. I want to be WoW,
exactly.
Please, but I'm
it's not
WoW.
another
I'm something
clone.
else.
It's something completely different. The look of it, the feel of it, and here's the thing, right? The story, there isn't one.
And that's intentional. That is by design.
That is
that's
intentional.
Not
There's lore of like different factions and clans if you want to look on the website, but there is actually no core storyline. You are the story. They've actually said in a quote, "Look, we deliberately didn't do this. We want you to be the story." You know.
Yeah, they want the memories to be player driven. Yeah. This whole game is just like we're giving you the tools to make your adventure.
Exactly.
In a kind of not Minecrafty way, but in the way of like, here's all the stuff. Go and do what's best in MMOs, which is make memories with people.
It's a hugely populated world by different factions, ghouls, creatures, animals.
Medieval, mate.
And it's medieval. And
2H.
Yeah.
There's not enough medieval shit around, man. I like medieval. It's dirty, it's dingy, it's
good for you, mate. So in terms of like...
Wow. Cold.
So in terms of story, pal, that's literally all I can say is there is a core like basis of it. It's a medieval time. There's different like factions and creatures and stuff that roam the lands. You are on your own quest. There's no direction that you go in. You make your own direction. And if you want to know more about these things that are in the world, you can look at them from articles that are actually on the website. That's it. It's not bombarding you.
But it is not the point. So let's get to what the point is. Let's go to the gameplay.
The point is, this is a completely sandbox MMO. Now, you make your character, and that's it. You don't pick a class or anything like that. You make your character, and then you start off in a very, very small area.
Yep.
And all it does is say, okay, right, kill those rabbits, cut down that tree, hit that rock, there you go, you've made a knife. Right? That is showing you how to farm shit, kill stuff, skin it, and then move on. And then that's it.
It was one of the big problems I had with Lord of the Rings Online. It was like everything was just text box after text box. I was just let me go.
Yeah, let me go.
Let me go, figure it out.
But that's literally it as well. That's all you get, and then you go into a very small town that has all the basics that you need, which deliberately put there.
Yep.
So that there is like a forge, there's a stonesmith, there's a lumber mill, there's a tanner.
So you're saying it's not a player-made town?
The first town that you encounter has only got like 6 buildings in, and each zone works in like a 4-in, 4-out system. Like you can go top, bottom, left, or right.
Yep. Like a classic Baldur's Gate style
Exactly,
RPG.
exactly. And then but the world itself's huge. So you do that, and then you start to explore outside of this mini town. And then the more braver you get, obviously, you can then venture further into higher level mobs, higher level resources. And then you always come back to the town, level up what you want to level up. Everything you do in this game levels you up in some way or another.
Yeah.
Okay? Everything you do in it, but we're getting ahead of ourselves, mate. Let's go to the basics first, okay?
Yeah, we'll have to explain the graphics because it looks super simplistic.
Yes.
By design.
Yes, the graphics are simple by design. Now, I have got a little bit of a shaky cigar sort of feeling of why it might be that simple, though.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a minute. But the graphics are very simple, but this doesn't hinder us. It doesn't affect the gameplay. If anything, like I showed you how quick I pressed login, and it just basically blinked and I was in the game. So the playstyle itself is click and move. You get 6 base abilities, and now this is going to be the segue into our open sandbox area is, these 6 ability slots are tied into your weapons and armor.
Right.
They're not abilities that you get for a class. So if I'm picking up heavy, well, if I'm creating, not picking up, if I'm creating heavy plates with a lot of defensive stats, they're going to be defensive abilities.
Yep.
Then I'll equip that with a sword and a shield, which have defensive abilities.
I really like that because it's a twist on what's been done previously. It's just like, you pick a tank, so you're going to gear for a tank.
Exactly.
In this one, it says, we know what you're trying to do from the way you're wearing your gear.
Yep.
So we're going to switch it around that way. And that means that you don't have to tie people to a class. That simple change is exactly the kind of thing I'm looking for in MMOs.
Exactly.
I'm not sucking balls here on this thing. I'm just saying that idea is genius.
The freedom.
It's just freedom. It's like, we know if you're putting a shield and stuff on, you want to play more defensive.
Yep.
Let's give you more defensive abilities. If you start wearing all like light attack armor,
you're going to want to be a rogue
more
or
DPS
something.
and stuff,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it just makes so much sense instead of saying, well, you're a class. That's all that can do.
But that's
Much better.
the beauty of that is as well is that you can wear this defensive plate and then use like a big warhammer.
Yeah.
Or maybe just an item that will heal, so you can be like more of a paladin feel as opposed to something like
Absolutely.
a priest. So the variations are endless, and while you're actually DPSing stuff or taking damage with those items, you're leveling up like sword ability, shield ability, and obviously those, every time you level up, give you more perks to them, like take less damage, increase damage, and stuff like that, which
a really
is
nice
really
twist on the
fucking
class
good.
system. I really enjoy it.
Absolutely. Now, the leveling system itself is called the Destiny Wheel.
Yeah.
Which, I think they should have called it the Wheel of Destiny, mate.
I think they tried to avoid the Wheel of Destiny. I think someone had the phrase Destiny and
Because
Wheel.
it invites a power grab, doesn't it? Like when you
Yes.
say the Wheel of Destiny. I know you've just done it while you're listening to this as well.
Exactly. The Destiny Wheel just makes people go...
Right, and this
well,
is the
Wheel of
first
Destiny,
time, because I judge an MMO these days, it's just my, like, from gaming, analysing type frame of mind, of when I succumb to fear. Okay?
Okay, interesting.
Right? Not obviously like the way that it plays and stuff is all accounted for.
Yeah.
But when I succumb to fear, like when I get daunted or feel like I'm being overwhelmed, now I click the Destiny wheel when I leveled up something like my skinning or something like that. It says click here to actually level up because you've got innate, like you press the button to actually do it. Now this is a fucking huge wheel.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Yes,
there are
it is.
hundreds of things on this wheel that you start from the center, and this is the beauty of it. It spans out like roots, and you can see what you want to level up. Like there might be a certain criteria. It'll be in the same vein because it's in the same kind of feel.
Yeah, exactly. You
In the
start
same
with
kind
your
of field, yeah.
which is what it should be. Is you specialize further and down and then that means that everybody else is also specializing in a different way.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a good, cool way of going.
And only when, and this is such a very nice way of doing it because it doesn't take a lot of time for you to appreciate the wheel.
Yeah.
Right?
appreciate
the wheel, mate. Shut up.
the wheel.
Because later on, like the proficiencies are when you start off, it's literally leather, cloth, and heavy, right? But then, like, as I did a lot of leather because I was playing a hunter for the most of the leveling process, and when you start to level up your armor and your weapons, it was using a bow. Then you start to branch off when you've leveled your bow into certain types of bow, certain types of leather. And then you unlock things like, oh, you can use daggers now, which you couldn't use at the start.
All right.
And then you can use like assassin leather, which obviously increases, which because they're tied in with the abilities of the armor, complement the daggers. Or you can have like hunter's leather, which complements the bow.
Yeah.
Shit, like there's endless amounts, but that I'd fully understood by that point. What I needed to do and how I needed to do it and digest what it's telling me for it to say, oh, mint, okay, then so I can get armor that will change my abilities slightly, but I don't have to use all the assassin leather if some of my, let's say, just my generic leather abilities were better. You can mix and match.
Yep.
That's the beauty of it for your perfect playstyle. Now, like we said, that encompasses everything, but also trading as well. Mm-hmm. Now, you craft your own equipment, your own weapons, everything. You can't go to a vendor. You can't go to.
I love this.
Yeah, you can't go to a vendor and buy them. You have to create them yourself,
Yeah, you
which
build
is
all your
really
stuff.
good.
Well, again, it's creating memories. Like, you remember when you built that sword.
Yeah.
You remember when you farmed or did whatever to get the ingredients, and
Now,
then you were like, I made it. That's the memory thing.
This seemed completely viable as self-sustaining until I found probably until about tier 3.
Yeah.
Now, there are 8 tiers in game. By tier 3, obviously, construction of things and profession system, that obviously takes a bit more grinding as you get up as well. So obviously you can't do everything at once unless you've got the time to do that. So then you'll start visiting the auction houses in the cities. Now, I found, were very cheap for my level. I got up to tier 5 of 8 on my character.
Yeah.
And it was only, I think it was a mixture of tier 4 and definitely tier 5 that I actually bought the armors because you needed to have leveled like gathering and crafting a lot to craft it.
Yeah, but it's like the way in any game when it's the mid-level stuff, people are just churning that out as the leveling going on.
Yeah.
So that got you straight up there.
Well, that's beautiful because then it means that people that want to play that game, because there is a and market for it, and there's a niche group of people that do it, is they want to play that game and play the market, play the profession system.
They want to be professional. We said it for years in WoW, is people love that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Blizzard doesn't encourage that enough by any means, and they certainly don't encourage player-made marketing systems.
You've segued me nicely there, mate.
It's
Do you know what? It's like we're one
God.
mind. It's if we're one mind. Now, the trader system gets catered for beautifully, and let me tell you how. When you're building your armors and your weapons, you can also build traders or gathering or creation armors, which actually increase the speed, increase the yield, and on top of that, mate, your mounts vary in, like, it increases your payload if you're on a mount. Now, I got an ox.
An ox?
An ox, mate, which means I could carry a lot of gear. And the beauty of this is, obviously, when you get encumbered, you get very slowed down in the game. You can't carry a shitload of ore without hardly moving. Now, if I go to a couple of veins in the ground on my ox, I'll get off my ox, and it'll create a radius where I can walk in, where I can share the weight with my ox. I can gather that, get back on my ox, and move to the next area.
It made way more sense than you just having extraordinarily unlimited bags.
Exactly. But it was so good, because then you, obviously, like, as you got more efficient at it, you put your ox, like, in the center of a certain amount of nodes, then get off, and you're going around the limit and getting it all. It was so good, man. The trading system, the profession system, I could sit there quite happily all day and grind materials, as weird as that is to say.
And then you could potentially set up a little shop.
And then you can play the auction house.
Yep.
Exactly. Now, so we've talked about the actual gathering and the creation of it. Let's talk about how it caters for the PvE as well. Is you do the exact same thing what we talked about gathering, but you just go out and kill mobs. You can't start going out killing mobs and mining things as well. You can do if you've got time. Like we said before about the leveling everything, it's going to take a lot of time. But you kind of need to streamline what you want to do if you want to get there quicker, obviously.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Star Wars in that way, where you're like focused on individual jobs at the time.
Yeah.
Like, I want to learn dancing or whatever it is at the time. But that's what you've got to focus your attention into.
Absolutely.
And then even in this, it goes further. You've got to get your armor to do that.
Yep.
You've got to get your mining stuff ready. You've got to get your ox all saddled up and a pat on the ass and say, this is what we're doing today.
Yeah. So the PvE aspect, it has different tiered dungeons, which you can do like a solo scenario.
Yep.
Which is good as well, because these I found grant you the most fame. It's called the XP points, called fame.
Yep.
These grant you the most amount of fame. I did that as everything, as a ranged caster, melee, heavy melee, tank, healer. All of them felt very viable. There's one little flaw in there we're going to talk about in the cons a little bit later, but it's only for a very specific playstyle. Okay? Now, that caters for everything. Obviously, there are higher level mobs, there are higher level dungeons for the elitely geared. There are world bosses, and there is so much for you to do. There's never there's never a downtime for you, if that makes sense. There's never a downtime. Now then, you can get your own island.
Yes, this is actually, for me, this is the biggest plus of this game. And this is what really creates the player-driven memories and all that.
Now, this isn't like a Warcraft garrison.
No, it isn't.
No, it is not. You get your island. It's very small at first. You can upgrade it 6 times. Does cost a bit of moolah to update. Luckily for us, we could shortcut that with our access.
Yeah, they gave us the code. So
they did give us the code so we can speed it up a little bit. Now, you can build on these things. You can build on the shops that you see in the cities, like the construction things, the stonemasons for actual materials, armors, weapons. You can build chefs, you can build butchers, you can build farmlands to actually plant actual vegetation or herbs. You can graze animals, mate, which you can then, I'm getting so excited, right? Just talking about this island. I was grazing little chickens, mate, right? But let me tell you something. You make these chickens happy and you can keep them there as hens. Hens will give you eggs. Or you can take them to your butchers and cut them up for your meat.
It did remind me very much of a Settlers MMO.
I get that.
Yeah, it very much from the graphical look of it and to how you're multi-using all resources and then dividing where do I want this resource to go? Do I want it to go to defense? Do I want to go into some sort of military stuff? Not that you're building troops or anything, but go into all these different areas. Where do I want to specialize this character into doing? And it felt very much like that. And as a huge fan of the Settlers series, I was into it. I was very much, especially when you could throw in so many other people into it as well.
Absolutely. It did take a little bit of time to do up my island, and this is only a short thing. It's not... I don't see this as a con. It annoyed me at first, but then it made sense. Now, if I gathered all my things and put them in a bank in a city, those banks are not universal.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah,
now, on top of that, you can get boats from the harbours to different cities. If you are travelling with materials, it is going to cost you.
Yes.
Dearly.
Yep.
Okay? I made this trip once which was from a city where I had all my equipment to my base, which was in another city. If your island is attached to whatever city it is, you don't have to pay for that transport to and from that city. But to every other city, it's going to cost you out the end. This is deliberately done.
Yes, it is.
Deliberately done. So you're actually farming the local resources. I liked
that you created neighbours.
Exactly.
You created locals.
I can also open up.
Cool idea of it.
I can open up my island to other members of the guild. I can do it as an open access island that other people can go to.
Which of course is led to the big guild bases.
Which also means that if I put taxes on my stalls, brother gets a cut of that money, you know what I'm saying?
The money.
So it's so good, but all this stuff, it sounds very overwhelming, but it gives it you in a nicely timed way.
Yes.
Not everything at once.
Yeah, I agree. It was displayed in such a way that it was totally simple to pick up. I mean, this game is a simple idea of taking the MMO experience and creating the Sandbox experience and then doing the things that we've always asked for. Like, every MMO we've played, it's like people, I wish I could set up my own town. I wish I could set up my place. I wish I felt more connected with the world. And this has done that by getting rid of a story, providing dungeons, raids, outdoor bosses, letting everybody play together, but also allowing the space where it's like, okay, go and build that, go and do all these things. And it's super easy to do.
Absolutely.
It's super easy
Absolutely,
to do.
but in no way does it mean that there's going to be a point where you've got nothing to do. You will do. We could take shortcuts, which helped with, my playthrough for the footage and the time that we had. But it would have taken a lot longer. But I wouldn't have cared. If I would have had more time, I would have played through it. I enjoyed the shit out of it.
So how would we say money-wise and PvP?
Okay, PvP then. Sorry, mate. We didn't touch on PvP, did we?
PvP
now, I didn't get to do PvP. I did a couple of duels. Now, the PvP was very simple for me. In terms of a duel, you can do just a regular duel, or you can do like a betted duel, where you actually put money into a kitty. And it was, this is kind of it was going to go into it's actually in the cons, but we're going to talk about it anyway. The PvP, what it offers to you is, like we just said there, is it offers you betted duels and regular duels. It's also got limited and open world PvP. Now, limited is like an area where if you're not flagged for PvP, you can't be attacked while other people are fighting. But if you attack someone who is flagged, then obviously you become flagged.
Similar to WoW.
Exactly. Then you've got open world PvP as well. It's quite simple, quite basic.
I wouldn't say it was a PvPer's dream.
No, it is not. It is not. The fighting style in the PvP itself is what I noticed, and I thought it was just me at first, but it wasn't because I was playing melee at the time, is you don't move. You stand in front of them, you use your abilities on cooldown, interrupt them when you need to, or use your specific buffs and so on. It was very, very, very basic, but that's not what the game's about.
Like a pet battle.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like a pet battle.
A bit of a Pokeball.
You can move and stuff when people are casting skill shots, but, that's about it. And the currency system, which you spoke about, there is gold and silver. Now, I'm always dubious. I'm always dubious.
Because there's so many companies that are trying to make a quick buck.
Yeah. This is kind of a pay-to-shortcut system. Like, this is why I got to shortcut, because of the gold that was allotted to our account. That's not a bad thing.
But I'm okay with pay to shortcut.
Exactly.
It's not pay to win by any means, because as long as, and I always say this, pay to shortcut is fine as long as the alternative isn't excruciatingly long.
Yes, agreed.
If it's like £5 cuts off a month of other time, that's too.
If it's something like the iOS version of Dungeon Keeper, that's criminal.
Yeah, that's criminal, and it's also why Terra did well, because as much grinding's in that game, it's not too out of skew.
But here's the beauty of it as well, the gold and silver system. Silver is used to buy things from the auction house, from vendors, to craft things like that, and if you're paying taxes on something that you're crafting from someone else's shop, that's silver. Gold buys you various things. You can actually use the gold to buy I don't know if it's like a season pass kind of thing, where you get slightly increased resource gain from gathering and things like that. But you can also buy gold with silver, because it is a player economy.
Yes.
Right? And the price,
part of this, it's a player economy.
The price goes up and down, so you can buy gold low with your silver, wait for the price to go up, and sell your gold.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the most important aspects of this, is this doesn't seem, from the beta, like a greedy, quick cash grab.
It isn't.
It does not feel
that's something that's actually... We're going to segue there, mate, into the conclusion, because we're touching the toes of my pros and cons now.
For it, mate.
But it's beautiful. Like we said before, here's the pros. The art style's simple, it's beautiful, it works, it's fine, and it's very, very, very charming.
Yeah.
The music as well, it's happy, it's chirpy, it's charming.
It has a Nintendo vibe to it.
Exactly.
And all that, which just makes you go, that's okay, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, and then like in Dungeons it gets epic, but that's sort of like fanfare, medieval knights kind of epic, where it's charming in a town and stuff. The farming Mount Ox and the horses, that was mind-blowing for me. I thought that was a fucking cool idea. I don't even know if it's original or not, but when I saw that happening, when I started to utilise it, I thought, yeah, bravo.
Yeah.
That's really nicely done. I love that. It's very, very easy to get into. Very easy. Like, what we didn't talk about before is when you actually enter a main city that is player-built, they are huge.
Again,
and there are
player-built.
Yeah, they are player-built shops in this city, and there is loads of them. But you understand them very quickly of what these shops do, and then you start to navigate around the cities. You'll obviously favour a city that's next to your island, so you're not far to travel.
Say, of everything in this game, my favourite part was by limiting the way you could travel with resources, so it's not a case of Hearthstone and a fast travelling around if you want to bring your stuff back. That creating that sense of togetherness and localisation and them being the strangers.
Somewhere where you belong as well, like your home.
This is my home.
This is my home.
And that's the other people who live over there.
Yeah.
And that just creates bants. It's a bants machine.
Bants.
It does. It's like, fuck those guys over there.
Yeah.
Because we've got the better place and all that kind of stuff. That's what you want in a fantasy world. That's why things like Game of Thrones do so well. It's like you have the Iron Islands and you have the marshes and you have the South and all that. Mm-hmm. Creating that sense of that's where I'm from, as shit as it might be or as great as it might be, that's where your memories start.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was my favourite part of the whole game.
It was. It was very, very cool. Now, even though it's Sandbox and it is very grindy, it feels weird to say this. I enjoyed the grind in this.
That is the purpose of the game. So I was looking deeper into the end game, and it is a case of continuously growing your character and your guild and building cities and creating all this and becoming powerful, but not in the way of a typical WoW where you're God mode and all.
Like, I'll tell you what was nice, and this is obviously, like, not everyone can do this because it's part of our packages. When I got there, I got a founder statue. Because if you want to buy into the beta, it's like, there's different versions of the founder's package. Mm-hmm. Now, ours had a statue in it, which was a founder statue, and people had put them in, like, a line outside the city, and, like, mine was, like, second in line in the gate, and you can click on it, it'll say, like, founder statue by Slade Wilson, which was my character. It was awesome. I love little things like that. Yeah. But that's there for everyone to see as well, which is cool. Now, yeah, it has the flexibility to be what you want to be. You are not stuck in one thing.
Or needed to re-roll.
Now, like I was saying, I got to tier 5 on my character in sort of a leather DPS hunter spec, which I'd obviously put investment into leather. I put it into bows, but I only dropped down one tier to tier 4 to then try healing, to then try tanking. You know, I'll tell you what I did. Exactly what I did. I was doing it as tier 5, then I wanted to be a tank. So then I put my gear on. I did one solo tier 3 dungeon, which actually picked me up quite a bit, and I was actually tanking tier 4 dungeons on my tank then.
Exactly
that.
As quick as that.
It's quick, but you can do whatever you want. Obviously, it's going to be a little slower for the gathering in the creating profession scheme, but that's all you have to do is just be whatever you want to be in this game, which is awesome. Now, here's another thing, pal, is we had a daily maintenance, which was visible to everyone. If there was an area, which we had today, where there was a certain consumable, which I needed, actually, the vendor wasn't clickable. They immediately took the server down, whoop, fixed, whoop, back up again. And let me tell you why, right? Because people were putting it in the trade chat, look, the vendor isn't working. There is visual mod presence in the chat.
Nice.
All the time. There wasn't a time, because I've got the global channels open when I'm doing anything.
Are you saying they didn't just make a huge sweeping change and then not respond for 24 hours?
Oh, is that shade? That sounds like shade, mate. That does sound like shade being tossed there. But so there's mod presence, and this stopped a lot of things, like gold spammers, idiots being idiots, because they were being dealt with by the mods quite quickly.
It continues into the live.
Exactly. Right, pal, onto the cons. Mm-hmm. I only had, I think, out of the time that I played it straight for, I'm saying, a week now, right?
Yeah.
So probably 5, 6, about 6 days straight I've been playing this. Now, the only two things that really annoyed me is, and I think this is just my personal preference and comfortability, is I felt that I had no sense of purpose. I was just living, you know?
Yeah, there was, because there is no end goal.
There is no end goal, but let me just clarify, though, that even though this was a con, I enjoyed everything that I did.
Yeah, exactly. It's a weird one. It's because, I mean, you can't have one without the other. They can't live you this open world and say, be whatever you want to be and do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
and also say, but ultimately you have to try and get to here.
Yeah.
Because that defeats the point of be everything you want to be. And also it takes away, and I really enjoyed this as well, and I didn't talk about it enough, was there was no real sense of rush.
Absolutely not, no. Absolutely
and that
not.
was a really nice feeling in an MMO.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I needed to get to endgame because I needed to get to see this and deal with this and do... And you know, all the things that, like, people start out MMOs, and we'll say WoW again. They start out WoW and it's like, oh god, I've got to go and kill Gul'dan.
Yeah.
And like you rush to endgame to get geared so you can go and kill Gul'dan. In this, it's like, there really is no rush because that end thing isn't there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that end thing isn't there. The whole purpose of the game is to create and meet and
build
talk
your character,
and be nice and feel this sense of being a person in a living, breathing world.
And establish yourself in it.
That you're not being pushed in a certain direction.
But also, you could actually put down the game for an extended periods of time and not fall behind.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. I never felt like, oh my god, I'm not up to... There was nothing like...
There's things that I've got to do today. There's things that I've got to do today.
Yeah, there's none of that. And it was very, very refreshing.
Yeah.
How that plays long term, I don't know. I think it's why it's in the cons.
Yeah,
like,
I think
long term, how does that play out?
Yeah, the only thing that like you have to keep returning to is if you've planted things in your farm or if you've got animals and stock.
Yeah, which does.
But obviously that makes sense.
Might end up on Android devices.
Yeah, exactly. That was my other con actually, pal. Is that the combat seemed very, very simplistic in both PvP and PvE, and I think this is probably to do with the Android influence.
Yeah, they're trying to hit an open market with this, with an MMO style, which could be good as well. There's pros and cons to that. One, you could say it's not going to carry the kind of intuitive depth that I want from a video game if it's going to end up on an Android device.
Yeah.
Or it's an MMO I can play on my Android device as well. Which is a totally different... It's two different ways to look at it. Totally different.
But like that in itself could be a plus, is the fact that I enjoy the shit out of this game. It is a bit simple. It is a bit simple in terms of its raw PvP and PvE mechanics, but the fact that if it caters for Android as well as it does for the PC, then I guess in a way I'm all for it.
Yeah, it really does depend on which aspect you're coming from. If you're looking to be simming your character and doing all that, there's still a lot of in-depth looks at guides and builds of how to reach certain sort of... Because we talked about how your different armor configurations and the Wheel of Destinies can determine something.
Yeah.
That's all still there, but gameplay-wise, not so much. But at the same time, if you want something to do on the go and you want an MMO that's not going to destroy your life and have a lot of fun, because honestly, it is a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Not demanding.
Be good. Yeah, exactly. There you go.
I enjoyed it, mate, and I'm pretty certain they will too.
Long time spent in this one.
Yeah.
Gave it quite a few days. What's your thoughts on your final look at it?
I felt like I did more than scratch the surface, and I tell you something, right? I was a bit daunted because it's a sandbox MMO.
It's so weird how it doesn't teach you anything. It's like,
right?
Go.
Take this into consideration, right? Most of the world, the cities and the towns, are player built and populated. They do the finance for the cities. They put taxes on their services, right? Your class is your character. You make your own story. The game itself doesn't have a linear story. It's got a couple of online articles from the website that'll tell you about the factions, the lore of the land, but there is actually no central story. It's completely sandbox.
Yeah,
but I tell you something,
which is the best way, because that's how you make memories. I honestly think, for me, the biggest driving force of Albion is they've grabbed onto the idea of what people love about MMOs is memories they make with friends and said, this is where you do that. We're not going to push you into one direction. We want you to create that stuff yourself. And
because not everyone is going to do this. You're going to do this.
Yeah, and the whole game is player driven to make stuff and to make things happen.
Yeah.
So I like that idea. That's pretty cool.
It was very fun.
Yeah, so if you enjoyed that one, check it out. We've got a link down below so you can go and click and have some look arounds. And if not, check out our previous Mates Watch, which was Mass Effect Andromeda, mate.
Wait. Character model face.